especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him, so he never...
Some way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol.
And Canelo, man, I don't know if he's cheating.
What do you mean?
I feel like Canelo juices.
The boxing world is heating up as accusations of steroid use swirl around Canelo Alvarez ahead of his showdown with Terence "Bud" Crawford. What started as whispers has now grown into a storm, with fighters, trainers, analysts, and even legends weighing in on whether Canelo's transformation is natural or something else entirely. David Benavidez was one of the first to speak out. He openly questioned why Canelo continues to avoid fighting him if he's truly confident in his ability.
Greatest Mexican boxing fights of all time, in my opinion. Yeah. So I feel like I'm 100% confident in myself. If Canelo was 100% confident in himself, I don't know why he wouldn't fight me, especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him, so he never got off
You think
steroids.
He's on steroids?
Of course.
Sure.
How does five...
You saw De La Hoya
How do five people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids?
Right.
You know what I mean? No, all those fucking dudes in that camp are dirty.
I seen Eddie Reynoso on my fight, so we made a joke. He said like he came to watch me the fight and shit. And then they're like, "Oh, you think he's?" In my head, I'm like, "What do you think Eddie Reynoso's thinking about?" He's like, "Are we gonna fight David Benavidez after seeing this fight?" In his head, Eddie Reynoso was like, "Fuck no, we not fighting him."
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, honestly, I don't blame Canelo. It's fucked up because there's a lot of money.
It's not even about the money. It's not about the money.
Yeah, but okay,
100 million, dude. You kidding me?
The first step when you're a fucking warrior, bro, the only thing you think about is glory. I've never thought about money. I've been smart. I'm negotiating my shit, but it's always a prize, bro. It's always, if I go out there and beat Canelo, bro, I'm a legend. You know what I mean? That I'm gonna live forever in boxing as a legend. That means way more to me than any type of money.
And I think that separates you too, David. And I admire that shit about you. I was like that at one point. Now like, how much you give me?
Yeah. and not to just bypass him. Shout out to Morel as well.
Yeah, shout out to
Benavidez pointed out that 5 members of Canelo's team have tested positive for banned substances, arguing that if the camp is dirty, Canelo can't be excluded. His words struck a nerve, not just because of his rivalry with Alvarez, but because they echo a larger concern many have had for years. And the numbers don't lie. Canelo Alvarez himself has tested positive for clenbuterol, sparking controversy that's followed him ever since. Add to that the positive tests of fighters like Oscar Valdez and Luis Neri.
Pressed serious accusations about his gym. And the accusations are that people, or at least the implications are, that he is the one that is providing performance-enhancing drugs or is in some way responsible for the performance-enhancing drugs that are being used by fighters that fought in his gym. Specifically, off the top of my head, you have Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez had popped for clenbuterol 2 times. For Fahim Satur, I'll say that he did it 2 times, even though I think it was for the same fight. But Canelo Alvarez popped dirty for clenbuterol 2 times. You have Luis Neri, who had tested positive, but I think Luis Neri tested positive before he was with Eddie Reynoso. Then you have Ryan Garcia, who popped dirty after he left Eddie Reynoso and went over to Derek James. And then you have Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez popped dirty while he was with Eddie Reynoso, but at the time he was still allowed to fight. You also clearly see that you have an issue with the fight that's coming up with Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, in that you have one guy that tested positive and you have another guy that looks like he's using in order to get up and continue to climb up weight classes. You know, at a certain point in time, and this is something that Rolly Romero had said, certain point in time, your body just doesn't do that. At a certain point in time, your body just doesn't do it. I'm 6'2", 200, and should weigh about 210. Closer to 250, but I should weigh about 210. I'm not gonna get up. If I was 210 now at 50 years old, I'm not. By 55 years old, I'm not. The only way I'm gonna get up to 260 of muscle is if I'm juicing.
And the suspicion surrounding Eddie Reynoso's gym becomes even harder to ignore. Critics allege that Reynoso's camp has been plagued with PED scandals, and whether fair or not, Canelo's name always gets pulled back into the conversation. Observers note that Alvarez's body has changed drastically over the years. In his early career, he looked like a natural welterweight, smaller, quicker, and more fluid. Today, he looks like a power.
If for a 30-year-old, right, you remember, your body grows, men's body can grow in height and length up until you're to the extreme in your 20s. By the time you're 20, your height and all that stuff is there, right? Your height and your length. In your mid-20s, you know, by the time you're 29, your musculature is pretty much there. It gets harder to gain and put on muscle after 30. So Canelo Alvarez is about to fight a guy that is going to put on 20 pounds of muscle.
Carrying muscle that many believe is nearly impossible to build naturally in your 30s. Joe Rogan himself pointed out that it's extremely rare, even for elite athletes, to bulk up so much at that stage of life. To Rogan, it's not just suspicious, it borders on scientifically impossible without outside help. Floyd Mayweather has never held back when it comes to Canelo. He's gone on record more than once, accusing Alvarez of getting a pass from the boxing establishment. Floyd believes the industry protects its stars, and in his eyes, Canelo falls into that privileged category. He argues that steroid use isn't just about
Canelo, man. I don't know if he's cheating.
What do you mean?
I feel like Canelo juices. But I'm a Triple G fan, so I'm a say that ahead of time. I just like Triple G.
There's a lot of money on the line, and if I could get away with it, I would do it as well.
Some tainted beefs.
I think, well, he definitely got busted once for something, but it could have been from tainted beef. We don't know. But it also could be that, you know, we should probably leave them the fuck alone and let them do whatever they want to do. Do you want to see Manny Pacquiao fight or not? Right? I want to see him juiced up, fighting at 45 years of age, coming in with a full six-pack, lighting people on fire.
Gaining an edge. It's about safety, legacy, and the very integrity of the sport. And yet, fans are divided. Some point to Canelo's access to world-class facilities, nutritionists, and recovery methods as explanations for his physique. Others say the math doesn't add up. As the fight with Crawford draws closer, both fan bases have taken aim at each other. Crawford supporters accuse Canelo of juicing, while Canelo's fans cast out on Crawford's rapid bulk up from welterweight to super middleweight. That's why both fighters agreed to undergo strict Vader testing in the months.
What up, everybody? It's your boy MC from MCTV. I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo Alvarez is on steroids right now as we speak and is going to be fully juiced with something that hasn't even hit the market yet. Think about it. He's pretty much a billionaire. He has access to everything.
Leading up to their September clash. Random testing, week after week, was the only way to silence the noise, or at least try to. For Crawford, the suspicion comes from his association with Victor Conti's SNAC program and his sudden walk-around weight of nearly 186 pounds. For Canelo, it's the shadow of his past clenbuterol test and the PED scandals linked to his camp. But make no mistake, this fight is about more than drug tests. It's about legacy. Terence Crawford isn't chasing a paycheck. As journalist Dan Raphael explained, Crawford is chasing history. Moving up two weight classes.
But what we don't talk about is, Canelo. Steroids. Y'all don't talk about that. So we don't know. We really don't know all the fighters he beat. He could have been not clean in a lot of fights.
Classes to face one of the strongest champions of the modern era is a risk few would ever take. If he wins, his name won't just be remembered, it will be etched into boxing history forever. Of course, the challenge is monumental. Canelo Alvarez has one of the best chins in boxing history. Analysts question whether Crawford, who couldn't stop Israel Madrimov at 154, can possibly hurt a man who's walked through the power of light heavyweights. Dan Raphael put it bluntly, if you can't hurt Canelo, can you really beat him? But Crawford doesn't need to overpower opponents. He breaks them down with timing, precision, and intelligence. He can switch stances, control distance, and make even the most dangerous fighters look confused. That
Canelo and Crawford are strictly and consistently doing random VADA testing in order to silence each other's fanbase and their critics ahead of their showdown this September. Now, despite this being a normal thing, the gravity of this fight brings in more attention to their test results, partly due to the fact that suspicion regarding both men have been up as of lately. Namely, Crawford's sudden bulk and jump to 168 and his close relationship with Snack and Victor Conti. Conti, and of course the recent PED scandals being associated with Team Canelo, as well as him once testing positive for clenbuterol 7 years ago due to contaminated meat. With that said, both men have been doing random testing since June and will undergo strict and consistent random tests up until they finally meet next month. Now it's worth remembering that despite all the recent allegations for Canelo and Crawford, both fighters have been consistent.
Stability could be the key against Canelo, whose style often relies on size, power, and pressure. And Crawford has been preparing. Nico Ali Walsh revealed that Crawford has been sparring with bigger fighters, even those built like heavyweights, to acclimate to Canelo's strength. Marcus Brown added that Crawford never looks rattled in those sessions, calm, focused, and tactical. That calmness, that composure, may be his greatest weapon. Still, doubts remain. Can Crawford's skill truly overcome?
But I think you gotta lean more towards Canelo, because like I said before, he been putting big guys out and down, and Canelo not even really a 68 pounder. He probably really should be at 60 maybe, and he been hurting these guys. I think he be dropping these guys and things like that. So, and them guys be way bigger than him come fight night. I know that for sure. They be probably close to 200 pounds, and he dropping those guys like that. So, I don't know. It's gonna be a great fight. The fans want to see it. So, so be it. I think Crawford should take a warm-up fight. At like 60, or like at least at 60, just to get his body, to fill up somebody a little bit bigger, and things like that. I know when you go up a weight, you gotta, develop that power and not develop the power, but like put that muscle on and be heavier and things like that. So he might not want to take a fight because he's trying to build up right now. But I think he should, just to stay sharp and that way he don't have like a long layoff or anything like that.
Canelo's size and power. Can Alvarez prove the doubters wrong once and for all and show that his transformation is the result of hard work and not performance enhancers? The tension is at an all-time high. Both men are undergoing testing, both are carrying the weight of suspicion, and both know that a single mistake could define their careers. For Canelo Alvarez, it's a chance to defend his legacy against whispers of steroids and prove his dominance at the highest level. For Terence Crawford, it's the fight that could make him a legend forever. One thing is certain, when these two step into the ring, the world will finally get answers. Until then, the accusations, the doubts, and the debates will only grow louder. That's it for today's breakdown. Stay tuned, because this story is just getting started. Please like and subscribe my YouTube channel.